Welcome back, beautiful and amazing people. This is Mario with Let's Talk About It, coming to you from Brownsville, Texas. So let's talk about it. Greed, 7 Deadly Sins, Part 2. All right? So, with greed, I'm sure you know or seen someone rise and fall because of greed. Maybe there was a neighbor when you were growing up, or you heard of someone, or things like that. You know, we've come in contact with greed in some fashion or in one way or the other. You see, when you are poor, okay, and you don't come from running water and stuff like that, you can develop a very unhealthy relationship with getting stuff, accumulating stuff. You know, we get ideas like that from what we see. And where do we see that? Well, you know, movies and things like that. So, you know, once I grew up and I went out into the world, well, you know, I went out and did those things. I lived in a nice neighborhood, very attractive wife, nice cars, 10 grand a month. You know, greedy, okay? Chasing the money. So that's what I did. I saw everybody else around me having a better life with money. Growing up around here, down in the Rio Grande Valley, either you were poor or you were selling drugs. So I'm glad I got out of here. I had a different kind of life, but again, it was still greed, regardless. So, greed. Never happy with what you have. Always wanting more. Or, for like a buddy of mine, we'll call him Kurt. Kurt, we were having a couple drinks. Our daily drink, if you will. He was kind of, you know, he was an older gentleman, pretty cool guy. But he liked to drink, so he was kind of retired. So he was drinking all day. And there was this one time that we were hanging out in the back of his house. You know, he had a nice porch and you could see down the hill and nice scenery. It's up in by Austin area over there. So it's hilly and mountainous and stuff like that. I mean, hilly, you know. Anyways, it's a really nice place. Anyways, there's this neighbor down further from where we live. And it was this older guy. He was like 75 maybe. Anyways, he pulls up in this very, very nice truck. This was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And so the old guy comes in and I'm like, hey, cool, man, you know, good for him, must be doing good. And he's like, oh my God, you know, how can he afford that vehicle? You know, Kurt saying, how can he afford that vehicle? I got this, I got that. It's like, dude, look where you live. And you have a huge truck, huge diesel 450 truck in the garage, plus you have a very rare Corvette, and then you also have another vehicle and horses and stables and stuff. So see, greed. He was never happy with what he had. He was always scheming, trying to get more. Like, I had a buddy once named Ski, and he was always looking for the bigger, better deal all the time. You know, no matter what he was doing, We met him in the military. I say we, me and my buddy, we were all in the military together. And, you know, from when we met him, you know, he always like, oh yeah, want to bet? He would always challenge what you said. And, you know, he knew numbers and such, and odds, and who's doing this and who's doing that, you know, who's pregnant and who's not. You know, he knew all this. Anyways, the thing is, he was always looking how to make a buck. Okay, this guy would go as far as get a job somewhere, figure out the job, and then make money while he's at work. That is how this guy is. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm just saying that the greed got the best of him. Greed, because that's what we're talking about. Okay? So, never happy with what you have. You guard against all covetousness. That's Luke 12:15. You guard against all covetousness. Because, you know, how do we begin to covet? We begin to covet by what we see. Whether it's a woman, whether it's a house, whether it's a nice car that they keep putting in front of the TV in front of you. You know, whatever it is, whether it's a diamond ring or whatever. Okay. Also, for greed is, I'm going to be reading just a little bit on 1 Timothy 6-10, but I'm just going to read just a little bit before I read another one off of the Bible. But I'm going to say this: for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Because the money isn't bad, it's what you choose to do with the money, right? Like, where's your energy going? Your energy is going to, you're exchanging your time, energy for money, and you buy whatever it is, gas, car, vape, whatever it is, cigarettes, you exchange it. But I also want to say that you can also lose yourself chasing material things. For me, a house, beautiful blonde. I had what I wanted. I had my dream. But guess what? It failed. Why? Greed and many other things that I was doing. But greed was one of them. All right? Big house, 2,700 square feet home, a pool, beautiful wife. That wasn't enough. I had to add strippers, and I had to add all sorts of things. Okay? And so, greed. Never happy with what I had. So you get humbled. All right? So I'm going to read this here. It says, was it 2023? So the night God came to Balaam, he said, since these men have come to summon you, go with them, but do only what I tell you. Okay? Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with Moabite officials. Moabite officials. Sorry. But God was very angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road and drawn with a sword, okay? Sword in his hand, it turned off the road into the field. Balaam beat it to get it back on the road. Okay, beating the donkey. What does that mean? It says, God let Balaam go with Balak's messenger, but he was angry about Balaam's greedy attitude. There we go. God was mad. Balaam claimed that he would not go against God just for money. But the resolve was beginning to shift. To slip. His greed for the wealth offered by the king blinded him so that he could not see how God was trying to stop him. Though we may know what God wants us to do, we can become blinded by the desire for money, possessions, and prestige. We can avoid Balaam's mistake by looking past the allure of the fame or future to the long-range benefits of following God. Okay? So that is greed. Maybe you found yourself there a couple years ago. Maybe we were all living it up. You know how we were, living it up, having a great time like there was no tomorrow. Okay? 2018, 2019, we were all having a good time. And some of us might have gotten caught up in some greed and look at things now. Some of us may be doing a little better than the rest, but guess what? We're not that far from you either. We just made better choices, but that doesn't mean that the powers that be out there and their plans aren't gonna come get all of us. So this is Mario with Let's Talk About It, and that is greed. Maybe some of us got lost in greed, and maybe some of us need to be humbled now. And I know I had to be humbled about 12 years ago, and I'm here to make videos to try to reach some of y'all, to make you guys aware of what your decisions might lead to if you make the wrong choices. Okay? So we're going to do more videos, obviously, because there's 7 deadly sins. This is number 2. So hasta la vista.